Right now, the Senate is debating over Trump's big, beautiful bill as Senate Republicans push to pass it ahead of their July 4th deadline. Late this afternoon, Senate clerks wrapped up a nearly 16-hour-long marathon reading of the 940-page bill, laying out what senators will be voting for and the stakes for Americans nationwide. Last night, the bill passed a key procedural hurdle to begin debate, with all Democrats voting no, along with two Republican holdouts, Senators Thom Tillis and Rand Paul. This comes as the Congressional Budget Office reported that the GOP megabill will increase the national debt by $3.3 trillion over the next decade. It also found that revenues would fall by about $4.5 trillion and spending could be cut by $1.2 trillion over a decade relative to current law. As of now, the bill looks in part likely to extend Trump's 2017 tax cuts, proposes $1 trillion, actually more than $1 trillion in cuts to Medicaid, and $186 billion in cuts to the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, otherwise known as food stamps, which provides benefits to low-income families. So far, the bill is getting no support across the aisle. No surprise. Senator Bernie Sanders called it, quote, probably the worst piece of legislation in modern history, unquote. And Senator Bernie Sanders joins us now. Senator, thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening to talk with us. I want to ask you, first of all, about the fighting with the ref that Republicans have been doing. They have been trying to discredit these new estimates that we've gotten from the Congressional Budget Office. As I understand it, they have been hiding from the Senate parliamentarian who is sort of tasked with assessing how much this bill costs and whether it could be, whether it can be passed through this party line vote that Republicans are seeking. What does that tell you about how proud Republicans are of the bill that they are trying to jam through?
Well, on top of that, as I understand it, Trump just told them ignore what the parliamentarians said. So what you were talking about, among many, many other things, in terms of this absolutely horrific piece of legislation, is Republicans right now are doing away with the filibuster, which historically has given the minority some power in legislative debate. But what we are looking at right now, and I want everybody to know it, is maybe the largest transfer of wealth from low-income and working people to the top 1%. And as you indicated, we're talking about $1 trillion in tax breaks to the 1%. And in the midst of all of that, there's over $200 billion going to the top 0.2%, families that inherit more than $30 million. So it's not just a gift to the 1%. I have to admit they paid for it. You know, when you have a corrupt campaign finance system and these guys spend hundreds of millions of dollars electing Trump, they're getting back what they paid. But it is really quite disgusting that you give tax breaks to people who don't need it. You throw 16 million people off the health care that they have. You cut nutrition programs for hungry kids. You make it harder for working class young people to afford to go to college. This is really an obscene piece of legislation.
Senator Sanders, can I ask for your reaction to the news that Senator Tillis is not going to be running for re-election? In a statement he wrote, quote, too many elected officials are motivated by pure, raw politics who really don't give a damn about the people they promised to represent on the campaign trail. So I guess two questions for you. The first is, are you surprised by the timing of this or not surprised at all? And then how can senators, I guess, prove they do give a damn about people in this moment? Is it simply by opting out of this system?
You're raising a very important question. I want people to understand what's going on. The Republican Party has not just become a right-wing extremist party. In many cases, it's become like a Stalinist party, a cult of the individual. And what the party is about now is that Trump says something, and if you have an independent thought, if you disagree with Mr. Trump, if you think maybe what he's proposing doesn't work for your constituents, you're out of here. You raise your voice, and in 5 minutes, they will be announcing a primary to your election. So what happened is Tillis thought that this was a bad piece of legislation for North Carolina. He's right, it was. And the result of that is Trump said, good, we're going to primary you. You have the same thing in the House, with the very few people who are prepared to disagree with Trump. So right now, the Republican Party people are just afraid to dissent. And all you have to do is say, I love President Trump. I will do anything and everything he says. Hey, that's what being a candidate in the Republican Party is today. Pretty pathetic.
Speaking of constituents, Senator Sanders, one of the things that defies logic is that at least some reporting suggested that 49% of Medicaid recipients voted for Donald Trump. He is now betraying those people who voted for him. It doesn't make any political sense other than the fact that he doesn't feel he cares anymore about these voters because he already got what he got out of them in being reelected. But it doesn't explain why he is so hell-bent on hurting the people in red states as well that are trying to get him, that got him into office.
I don't look at it exactly that way. I would say this is what oligarchy is about. And this is a reflection, as I mentioned a second ago, about a corrupt campaign finance system. Why do you think billionaires provide huge amounts of money? And by the way, it's not just the Republicans, Democratic billionaires as well. Why do you think they put all that money in? Because they love politics and the democratic process. They want something in return. And today is payback day. It's payback day for the billionaires who finance not only Trump, but many Senate and House members. And as to why low-income and working people have voted for Trump in large numbers, I think that has to do with the failure of the Democratic Party to stand up for the working class in this country and not giving ordinary people a real alternative. And that's something I should tell you that some of us are working very hard to change.
Senator Sanders, I want to dig in a little bit more on this Medicaid question. Bobby Kogan, the senior director of federal budget policy at the Center for American Progress, notes that Senate Republicans are calling to cut Medicaid and CHIP by over $1 trillion, which it would be at least 4 times the size of the largest Medicaid cut in U.S. history. What will that actually mean in practical terms for people who are potentially losing their health insurance?
All right. Thank you very much. And the answer I'm going to give you doesn't come from me or my staff. It comes from Yale University and the University of Pennsylvania, who did a study to just answer the question that you gave. What does it mean when you throw 16 million people off of health care? And by the way, when you impose a $35 copayment for many Medicaid recipients who have no money at all? Well, the answer is really quite shocking. What Yale and the University of Pennsylvania said is that this will result, and it's horrifying to me to have to say this, in the unnecessary deaths of 50,000 Americans every single year. So in other words, this is a death sentence for tens of thousands of Americans in order to give tax breaks to billionaires. And if that is not obscene and disgusting, I don't know what is.
Senator Sanders, can I ask you for a moment to, I guess, reflect on the kind of split screen moment that we're experiencing as a country this weekend while we see all this unfold in Washington, D.C., in Venice, overseas. A number of celebrities and mega wealthy individuals are celebrating billionaire Jeff Bezos' wedding, mega $1 million wedding. And, you know, it may seem like a popular culture story, but I'm curious if for you it tells us something about the moment we're all living through, that could be happening at the very same time that millions of Americans are about to experience this incredibly regressive set of cuts. What does it mean to you?
Well, thank you. What it means to me is that we are living, as people have heard me say for a while, in an oligarchic form of society, where a small number of people like Jeff Bezos, who's the second richest guy in the world, have more money than they could spend in 1,000 lifetimes. In this case, my understanding is his wedding cost $25–50 million. He gave his wife, what was it, a $5 million ring? What they are saying to the whole world is, we got it. And we don't give a damn about anybody else except ourselves. And greed is our religion. We want more and more. And if children go hungry, that's the way it is. And if people die because they can't afford health care, that's the way it is. We are going to continue to finance candidates and presidents who are going to work for us, and to hell with everybody else. So I think you're right in looking at what's going on in Venice with Bezos' wedding as a real indication of what's going on in this society. Rich got doing unbelievably well. Their greed is out for all to see, and they could care less about thousands of people dying because they can't afford health care.
So, Senator, then how can the Democrats prove that they give a damn about the people right now? I know you and others are taking it out to the heartland. You're speaking about oligarchy. But as a party, what can you do in this moment? What can you do to stop this bill or slow it down, if at all, other than taking it out to the public?
Well, everything we possibly can. I mean, everything. I mean, I think one of the problems is that while this bill, according to the polls, is unpopular, as it should be, there are still a whole lot of people who don't know what's in it. And I really think that people probably, when they hear what's in it, they don't believe it. You know, they say, oh, come on, really? They're going to give tax breaks to billionaires, throw people off of health care, and they're going to die? Nah, that really can't happen. That's one of the problems we have with Trumpism in general. Things are so outrageous that people don't believe you when you tell them the truth. So we have got to work day and night. It's going to be a long night tonight. I'm not quite sure what happens if this bill gets past the Senate, what happens with the House. But I would say that from this moment on, we've got to do everything we can to educate the American people and make sure they put pressure on the Senate and the House to vote against it.
Are there any Republicans that are speaking to you privately that are showing any sense of courage that they might not vote with this when it comes to it?
We will see. We will see. I mean, you've got two who voted against it last night for different reasons. Tillis being one, and he's not running today, and Rand Paul the other. We will see what happens. I can't make a prediction. Okay, but thank you all very much.
All right. Senator Bernie Sanders, we greatly appreciate your time. Thank you for making time for us.